I'm gonna go run and see if I can use my little recorder for this, because I know you can use it as an external mic. Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, if he's going to his dorm, we're gonna have to open the house before he's back anyway. So, let me see.
Did he have time to?
It looks like it's live, babe, but I don't know what the link is though.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Well, he could be waiting to send it. It's just whether or not he got that reverb thing.
Yeah.
That's possible. I just remembered.
I'm okay with opening the doors for sure. Adriana.
You can tell the ladies out there. They're walking.
Huh?
Even have an email.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello. Judy.
Hey, you know, Ina and her husband are expecting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How exciting. When are you due?
January 19th.
All right, Jamie.
So are you good?
We're
I
a
think
week late. We're gonna have
we'll need a nail That's weird. Okay.
Do you have an address yet for the live stream?
Not.
Family's asking me.
That's right. I can get that real quick. Server URL.
She says, have you done the live stream yet?
Let's see if this is a valid link.
And I'll just put it on Facebook too. And anybody can see it.
Is that right? That is not right. That's old. That's from like 2014.
So how have you been?
Good,
How's school going? Busy.
to say the
As
least.
usual. I'm sure.
Yeah.
She said, I don't see it yet because it's not there yet. So silly. Sister-in-law.
Nah. California. That's not right.
California. Let's go. I did go to California. Can you not see anything?
Sorry?
Still there, backstage, we're walking from there.
Yes.
Do you want my eyeglass?
It's up to you where you want to, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, there's my
It's up to you where you want to go and slide it.
I think I just walk in the audience and just watch the show.
I want to see it. I definitely want to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want me to keep your bag out here?
Yes.
Or you want to worry about it backstage?
I don't know where you're sitting.
I'm sitting in that, right there where the phone's on. Right here. Okay.
I can come sit next to you. Send me a seat.
Okay.
Maybe I can just put my purse in the seat or something.
Good idea.
Great.
Judy, can I get you to start this one
No one's
next time?
standing by. What, the
Where
camera?
is...
No. We're just gonna turn it on and leave it.
No, I'm saying when it's time to start it.
Alright.
Have you push the little red button. Hey, Dr. Wiki.
Howdy, Dr. Wonky.
How are you?
He's trying to get something for me.
It's being a pain in the butt, so that's the only bad part.
Rafi.
Hello, Mr. Porter.
How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Kind of came somewhat last minute, but
That's good, man. Thank you. Well, that's good. Hey, man. Let's see.
Can I sit in this row?
doing
Oh,
really
no.
well. I got my key with me before 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Glad to have you. It'll be interesting.
So this one. That's why. Why is it marked as private?
Look.
Huh?
Look. Call him Skylar.
No, I sent myself the link, so hopefully,
Oh, we're seeing if it works, you mean?
yeah.
When we bring this to you, do we just close it, unplug it, and then
Yeah,
away we go?
definitely.
This lasts an hour and a half. I didn't know if the battery would last that long or not.
I'm just gonna plug it in.
Don't care if I have my laptop.
I have a job for you. I have a job for you. Well, I'm connecting this. Here. And Stan Curtis and Dr. Kevin both on the other hand, counting these forms. So if you could see them, here's Dr. Below right here.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No, it took like a second.
No, he doesn't need one. I see. He wants one. Hey, how are y'all? Good to see you. Come on in. Whatever you want to do.
Use this camera in like years, and he wants me to.
Oh, no, these are yours. I don't need
The stream is like 3 seconds off, which is a little annoying,
Oh
but
no,
It is?
it's still not going.
it'll go, but it's just gonna be 3 seconds behind whatever he does. So I'm just gonna
Okay.
turn off the volume on here,
So do you
and
have the
it'll.
link now?
I should.
You have enough battery for this, Eric?
We can plug it in and we've got a cord.
Yeah.
What is it called? Address? Is that what I want to call it? Live stream address?
Yes.
I don't know. I've never done this before. You guys are teaching me.
What is your email so I can just send it to you? If
To
you
me?
need- Yeah.
GRI. Oh, no, send it to Dave. W. Dave. Because mine's not working in here.
W.
W. Dave. What is it? W. Dave. Jeez. And then I'll tell you. I don't send him emails. Why would I do that?
And you can just call him and just
Yes.
like yell at him. That's what he
That's
deserves.
what I do. It is WDP@AOL.
Yeah, that's.
I think I could find it that way, huh?
WDP at.
He's hooked into the Wi-Fi here. I'm not. Okay, then I can just copy it.
Hello.
Should work.
Probably take it a few minutes.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello, how are you? Hey there, Dave.
Ted, you're the worst.
He said, Brother Dave.
You're gonna talk to him about McLean Band.
Huh? I'm gonna talk to you about the McLean thing.
Yeah, that's all you talk about normally, so.
Yeah.
Well, the email's not popping in there.
Ugh.
Hey, Judy.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right, nice to see you.
Good to see you. We're trying to get
Alright, I think I got a link now.
You have a link now?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it came in his email. Okay, let's try.
Doctoral to get me a dress, dark green shirt. So
That was my job.
Alright, do you want me to send it to you?
Here,
Oh,
I'm gonna type it.
oh okay.
sorry.
We're trying. Wait, how do I even turn this on? This button on? Just turn it on.
Alright.
We're trying to wait a little bit, make sure
I'm almost golden.
Louise and Morrow are on their way.
Dot YouTube dot com
Never seen that stuff.
/ watch question mark V =
In the garage.
DN P capital K capital O C capital R Oh no, video's not found. I can send it to you as a message, and you can.
Whatever works. You can just type Judy and I'll pop it in there.
No, I was kind of zoned out. So, like, I had to, like, replay what I thought I heard. That was probably me.
I was gonna be fine.
It's pretty good.
Should have been there.
Good as it could
Okay.
have. This is
Yeah.
nobody
No
died.
one
No
dies.
fires.
No fires.
Left to Harris.
This is Dave's phone, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody's name.
I'm gonna change the picture to a picture of my butt.
Better not. Okay, you said I should have gotten it.
I'm gonna send it to Dave and then forward it to you.
Okay.
I would just die.
Chris is horn. Has been literally falling apart. Can you see that?
He showed me last week. And I started panicking. At first I thought, like, oh, mine like, felt differently. And then I looked at mine, felt the exact same way. My piece felt one too. And then it's
He's
not
had this phone
working.
forever.
I hope I just told him how to get here right. Go up the steps, go to the circle.
Something dumb like that. Scratched it with
They
that.
put them in your phone, right?
Yeah.
I like those. They're freaking huge ones.
Tell me about
But I play on
So if your picture is changed on your phone, it's not my fault.
I like your one a lot. I've played on the
Eric's on yeah. Because I just told him.
I'm going to start this.
I like your phone a lot.
Sweetheart, I wouldn't do anything to Dave.
But whenever I can play that in the West, it's like, oh man.
Alright, we
Just
are
having
recording.
several thousands of dollars to just come my pocket. No, I don't like it.
Well, I'm saying Dave, I'll never miss it.
Oh, me neither.
Alright.
Are you still in?
Never.
Yep.
Don't be in.
You know, owe it all.
I'm not gonna get a degree for a while.
Eric had to put in his password.
Where are you in your
I'm assuming it's Tuba.
In my last year.
Okay.
My students teach next semester.
Okay. So,
No, it's not.
Wait, that's so delayed.
Arian.
When am I gonna show up?
Eventually,
I would not get it.
it's like
There I am.
it's like a 5-second delay, but it's still gonna be like on time with his stuff.
That's good. There I am. Look at me.
Let's see, what do you want,
And I
messages
gotta pee.
or?
And I'm still gonna be here.
Yes.
Did you come here from your house?
Copy.
it's great. We're studying now, so great.
Dude.
I mean, I've never. I wasn't the one
Peace.
that all the time.
Until now.
Yeah.
Until I got here.
I'm glad you were here. So,
What?
Grow, but it's even because we didn't have the second semester player.
I have a panic thought. Chris is going to graduate this year.
Yeah, he's gonna get it.
Alright.
Oh, now it's got a tap to
Yeah,
load.
I
Oh
you
my
won't be
gosh.
the only one. We'll definitely. I know we already have a message. I
What
have a
I'm
couple
gonna
of
do is
minutes.
send it to his sister thing here, because mine's acting stupid now.
Oh, so we had a lot of audition and that were accepted. Yo.
You type the name Helen and send it to it, it'll go right to her.
Okay.
Yes.
Like my sophomore year was his first year.
Okay.
Nice trim.
It's
Nice trim.
been just over 2 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Alright, send it to Helen. Is there anyone else you need to send it to?
Sandra,
Yeah, that we have.
daughter.
Of course.
I graduated in May. Got my
Like, you know,
PhD
Eric
here
Black.
in And I teach on Tuesday nights, so Monday night we work that perfect.
Okay.
So good to see you. I know you guys are busy.
What do you have your daughter in here as?
Sandra.
Yeah.
I always.
Oh, who's from that? Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what I'm used to, though, like right in front of
Oh, okay. Are you looking for email?
I'm sending it through text.
Text, okay.
And I also put her on the Facebook post.
I mean, that was definitely
Okay.
when I started looking
Here she is.
Excellent. So you should just be able to paste the message.
Oh, okay.
Just do it down there.
Oh, of
You
course.
big silly goose.
I know. Right?
Yep.
Sound?
Correct.
Okay. And did you already put it on Facebook, Judy?
No,
I put it on. There was a post on Facebook, and I put it in the comments.
on this end.
How do we put it on my Facebook?
From student teaching
Can I paste it on my Facebook?
at
That's what I need to do is paste it. I told you. That's how. Add recent link to your post. Wait, is this you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Does that mean everybody else who's my friend can see it?
right next to
Yes.
Okay.
where? Oh, where? No, there's another competition.
yeah, that's what he got. It's not the same store, but that's again, someone got me the job. Got me in
I
contact.
thought about it.
Yeah, that's exactly how that connection. I
Um,
said, I
Yeah,
need
yes.
a job. I know somebody's looking to hire something. Perfect.
Alright.
yeah,
Cool.
Quite good.
Works for me.
And then we kind of get an opposite experience.
Okay, Helen says
In
it's on Facebook.
elementary school, that's just
Excellent.
more than 5th grade.
Okay.
I think this is stressing me out more than my recital is.
Yeah, okay. And then you just need to plug in and I'm ready.
But
So I'll go back here and give myself 30 seconds.
Thank you.
most of the kids, most of the kids languages in English. So it's like huge program too. I think for just grades 4 and 5 at Bailey's, I think 2 months.
It's like started rolling, but it's luckily did the same thing.
Just those 2 grades. So and then 6th grade, there's about that many also. Just in 6th grade.
So this program here in my undergrad were education majors. They had like wonderful classrooms where they would like once a week go
Yeah.
in the classroom and they do that at both middle school / elementary and like high school. Does that happen? Oh, okay.
No.
So you haven't.
We do something else called
Okay.
which is where like we all do like secondary instruments.
hope you enjoy seeing my vocal cords.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Take this out here. So, thanks again for all of you being here. Welcome to all of my colleagues and faculty and teachers and everybody that's here to help me out. It's my lecture recital for my doctoral degree, and the piece you just heard there was a piece by Edvard Grieg called The Dream. And we'll see if our slideshow works. Woohoo! It does. Hallelujah. So here is the title of my dissertation as of right now, and also this lecture recital. And if you can see there, the physiological exploration and synthesis of singing techniques applied to tuba techniques. So everybody put your seatbelt on, and take a little bit of a journey, and hopefully you don't mind seeing the insides of body parts a little bit here a little later. So here's a little bit of background. About 7 years ago, Doc Nix and I found out there was a voice student that wanted to play mellophone on the Green Machine, and the voice teacher at that time told them they couldn't do it, it would damage their vocal cords. And so both of us, I remember going, huh? You know, why would that damage your vocal cords, you know? So it was a really curious subject, and we talked about it a little bit, and about the same time, I met a lady named Mrs. Chrysaline Petropoulos. She had a clinic up that said 10 technical commands of vocal mastery, and she guaranteed that if you follow her commands, you could sing anything you wanted to, any style, day or night, sick or not sick, etc. So this sounds pretty intriguing. And even if I'm not a vocalist, that sounds intriguing. So I went to the clinic and learned quite a few things, and the idea came to possibly apply some of these techniques to my tuba playing, especially as I get older. I'm always looking for ways to make it better and easier. So I took voice lessons with her for a semester. That was my first time taking like what I would call real voice lessons. And she let me bring my tuba into the lessons, and we would play and sing, and she would watch me breathe, and we would talk about it. And little by little, I felt that some of the techniques that I was applying to the tuba from her voice lessons were helping me. Therefore, the idea of this whole dissertation was born, and we've been proceeding from there. So it's been a fun ride, and we've got another year up here. So here's an abstract summary of my dissertation. The important part, yay, it works, is right here in the underlined part. This whole lecture recital will be mostly about this middle part. So we want academic research, the overlapping techniques, be experimented on a group of student volunteers to certain broader implications of widespread teaching application. And that's what I'm going to show you is we were able, thankfully, to accomplish that. And I'm going to show you how it went about and the results of it and things like that. Mostly, we're going to be looking at the techniques in posture, breathing, tongue shape and movement, pharynx and airway openness, lip aperture shape and movement, jaw placement, and movement and timbre production, which means basically sound quality. Let me clarify, I'm going to say timbre a lot. I won't say tone quality because tone definition means the pitch you're playing. If I say play a C and you play C, that's a tone. But the quality of that tone we refer to as the timbre of it. So here's the research process. Step one, we had an unpublished raw data survey. That's how it's going to be in my dissertation, of over 100 national colleges. And I asked them, wrote the tuba and euphonium faculty and the vocal pedagogy faculty at each of those universities, and asked them what their favorite sources were for teaching or referring to or whatever. About 44% of the brass came back, the tuba guys, and of course I knew a lot of them, so that probably helped. And then about 22% of the vocal faculty respond, and that was pretty cool. So step two, then I had to implement a process that I was going to do this research subject to what's called the Institutional Review Board, and that happened last February and March. And then step three, and they approved it. Yeah, obviously I wouldn't have done it. Yeah. And then step three, we implemented the research in April and May. And step four, we compiled the data and the results were tabulated. I'm going to move this a little bit. Before we start, let's clarify what we're talking about when we start talking about lungs, ribs, etc. First of all, and this is courtesy of a fellow that I took lessons from in Germany this summer, Eugene Rabin of the Rabin Institute, and he had some real nice sculptures, so let me take a picture of them. So to point out, in case you hadn't figured it out, this is the lungs, heart, there, and diaphragm area under there. And notice which area has more lung tissue, the front or the back? And the answer is the back. There's more lung tissue in the back. You can see how it drapes down the back a little bit and then behind there. Now over here we have the ribs. We have 12 ribs. There's number 1, right, hiding under the collarbone. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice how 1 through 10 are all hooked into the cartilage going up to the sternum. Down here, if you can barely see it, is 11, and 12's hiding behind there. They're floating ribs. They're not actually attached to the rest of the front part of the cartilage. And that's important when we're talking about breathing and trying to get the tissue in our back to expand. We need that, okay? And just so you know, of course, and so vocal parts and everything are very similar to brass. Dr. Brian Bone, who's a world-renowned euphonium player, talks about brass playing being the closest to singing you can have because we make the noise with our lips, like that. And so our body is also a living instrument in a lot of ways like that. It is true that brass players can play while we have a cold or a fever, unlike, and singers have a little bit more difficulty with that. But it's still a little bit similar. So you have in the chorus, you have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And in the brass world, if anybody doesn't already know, trumpet's kind of playing the soprano, alto is kind of the horn, trombone, euphonium on the tenor, and the tuba on the bass. So here's some of the pedagogies I got back from the survey for the brass. And these are in order of popularity. So the very top one you see here is Song and Wind, written by a former student of Arnold Jacobs. Arnold Jacobs was the principal tubist for Chicago Symphony for many years, and unfortunately has passed away now. But he himself never wrote a book, but he did so many lectures and things, his students started writing it down for him. And so Brian put together a lot of his things into this book here. The Art of Brass Playing was next by Phil Farkas, former principal horn with Chicago Symphony. It has some popular ways of thinking about brass playing in it, and you'll see some of those in a minute. Next, The Art of Tuba and Euphonium Playing by Harvey Phillips and William Winkle. Harvey Phillips, the deceased now former instructor at Indiana University in Bloomington. William Winkle is from Chadron University in Nebraska, I think. And then also Sprock Arnold Jacobs is another former student, compiled a lot of his lectures and notes. And even though there's two books here, there's some different things in this one that this one maybe didn't get. And lastly, Practical Hints on Playing the Tuba by Don Little, tuba instructor at North Texas State. And then I put in the euphonium book, even though nobody said it, because one of my test subjects, as you'll see later, was a euphonium player. So I thought, well, we need to include him, of course. Great. Here's the main points. The points that are in bold are the ones that are different from the vocal pedagogy that I'll show you in a minute. The points that are underlined are the ones that are the same. And the ones that don't have anything are just something else that was said that wasn't said in the other one, no real disagreement or agreement. So here's the big one. Posture has some things there, and the vocal people have some things to say about posture. In some ways it comes out the same, and sometimes not, but most of the time the same. But here's the big one. Brass world says breathe to expand, don't expand to breathe. And as you can guess, when we get to the vocal pedagogy, it's just the opposite. So when they say that, we're taking a natural breathing, and you just breathe in, and whatever expands as you breathe in naturally, that's what expands. Not necessarily making our body expand in certain places, but it expands as we breathe in. Okay, other things are the same. You can see the yawn, good feeling of inhalation. Diaphragm goes up and down, everybody says. Bernoulli principle, which means the slower air has more pressure than fast, and when you exhale, the air that's coming out of you through your vocal cords and your glottis has a lower air pressure, has a tendency to pull your glottis closed. And we have to try to work against that in some ways, but that's just a scientific principle. Another big one, sound of the breath. In brass world, we like to hear our breath. And in vocal world, we don't want to hear anybody breathing like that when they're singing, right? I wouldn't. Good. 6 points of resistance. Brass world talks about starting from your glottis. There's points of resistance that the air has to go past, thinking about those and trying to get by them. And then everybody says breathe through the mouth, and the ribs expand a little bit. Tongue shape and movement. There's some other things there. Using vowels to shape the tongue. That's the same in both places, both fields. And but the brass are talking about the back of the tongue arching for slurring. I don't find that in the vocal pedagogy quite like that. It's more about forming the vowels than it is for arching your tongue up and down. And the pharynx and airway openness, I'll explain that a little bit later. This is all the same. It's a brass world. Some of the brass folks say the glottis is an air valve. Glottis is your vocal folds. You'll see that picture in a little while. But they say it's an air valve. The vocalists do not use that as an air valve per se, or to think of it that way, even though I can tell you in reality that it does happen that way sometimes. We just try not to let it. Good lip aperture and shape. So we're comparing the lips to the vocal folds is what I'm doing in the descriptions here. So the descriptions you see are all about the lips, and we don't talk about the folds necessarily this way. But we have some other things later, but it gives you an idea of some of the things the brass pedagogy books talk about. There. Jaw placement, chin forward, will open airway. Now, how many, you may or may not have ever noticed, especially tuba players, when they're playing, all of a sudden their chin might go, huh? Like that, and stick out. That's a brass pedagogy teaching tool, just to put our jaw down and forward a little bit, open the airway supposedly, and to allow some of the loadings to come out better. Does this work? Yeah, it could cause some problems. It caused me some problems, which is why I was trying to search for something different. But the vocal roll does not have the chin forward like that. Timbre production. Our favorite adjective in brass field is world-class sound. If somebody's got a sound that we all like and nobody can argue about it, we say it's a world-class sound. What does that mean? And so, what adjectives do we have to describe a world-class sound? And even in the brass pedagogy books, there's not a long list of adjectives. There are a few. But basically, that's what we say, and somehow we all know what that means. But here's the other thing that's different. Remember the sound of the mechanics, not the feel. So meaning we're going after the product and the sound from our instrument, and whatever mechanics we're doing to get that sound, we all agree it's a world-class sound. That's what we want to remember is the sound, and our remembrance of that sound will cause us to reproduce it, not how it feels inside our body necessarily. Okay, good. Here are the vocal pedagogies. Top of the list, I admit I didn't memorize where every single author was from, but right here at the top of the list, Dr. McCoy is a teacher at Ohio State and wrote a wonderful book that explains a lot of technical detail on things, and a lot of the pedagogy people use that. Then we have a few others. Richard Miller, now deceased, very popular book. He has several books out actually, talking about the singing and the structure of singing, how it works. And then Ms. Dosher here, Functional Unity. Clifton Ware, another famous vocal author, basic vocal pedagogy. Here's an older book, much older, by William Menard. He's kind of one of the first ones to really put into scientific terms some of the vocal terms in his book. And even though it's really old and some of it's a little outdated, it's still used by some pedagogy teachers. And lastly, became the diagnosis and correction of vocal faults. Bel Canto, History of Vocal Pedagogy by James Stark, talks about the Italian style of singing a lot. And the most scientific book I had out of all these sources was this vocology book. I couldn't understand half of it, to be honest with you, but it was very interesting just trying to look through it. And they had a lot of technical stuff about things. I was able to glean one picture out of it that I'll show you later that I really like. Now lastly, I have Ms. Christine Petropoulos' book, because even though the vocal pedagogy teachers nationwide weren't familiar with it, that's what got me started. And I credit her because I met her first, not because I knew to go after seeking her, I just happened to meet her. And therefore, it influenced me a lot. And I've read her book a lot and practiced some of her methods, and it's helped me in some ways. So for me personally, that's a very important source that got me started on this project. Main points. Here we go. Vocal pedagogy talks about all these different areas when we're talking about posture, not just sit up straight. It's not quite as simple in terms. And here's an exercise I'd like you to try. We're going to plug our ears, hum, move our head up and down and forward, and where the hum is the loudest, that's your best alignment. So let's all try that. Head up, down. Stop it where you find to be the loudest. Where you find to be the loudest, stop there. Think about where your head is, and hopefully that's your best alignment for your posture. Not counting the fact you may be leaning against the back of the chair and all that, when you're standing up. Okay, that was from Dr. McCoy's book, actually. Now, in other words, noble standing position, erect head, chest comfortably high, and rib cage open. Here's a good pelvis tucked under for the vocalist. So we're not standing straight up, but we also, our pelvis is tucked under like this just a little bit. And that, to be honest with you, not only helps a little bit with keeping our posture straight, it helps with expansion of the back for breathing, because it's helping lengthen our back a little bit as we breathe in. Breathing, here's it is, expand to breathe. That's vocal world. We're creating a vacuum. We expand our rib cage, our muscles, our lungs go with it. We're creating a vacuum, the air goes whooshing in because it's a vacuum, and then we sing from that. Quiet breath, no noise. Inhales the external intercostals and diaphragm. Exhale internal intercostals diaphragm. Bernoulli effect still there. Abbacchio is an Italian term, and this is from the Bel Canto school. Refers to when we breathe in through our back and quietly, then when we're going to sing, our ribs don't just and collapse on us. They stay out. And we hold them out, and they kind of come back last to where we started from. And that's what creates our control of the air some for singing and helps not have, to be honest with you, if we put as much air across our vocal cords as we do when we're playing brass, the vocal cords will just go ballistic. For men, the vocal cords are only about the size of a nickel, and for ladies, they're only about the size of a dime. So it's not very big. You can see how big our lips are. It's like 2 pieces of leather hanging there, you know. Takes a lot more air. Yeah. So we don't want to do that to vocal cords. And I'll explain, well, the reason why you get sound, though, when they're not that big is called resonance. And I'll show you a picture in a little while. It's going to show how singers resonate. And for brass players, it works to some extent, too. Even though we have this external instrument that does a lot of our power for us, we can also affect how it sounds inside our head. Good. Middle and lower torso, balance between inhale and exhale. Let's see, we're going to do one other exercise. We're going to talk about breathing in our back and ribs. So I'm going to point out 6 areas to you. And you can take one of your hands and find your ribs in the front, right here. Okay, and breathe in deeply, quietly, and order your air to go there. And exhale, you should feel some movement. Okay, now on the, did I change it? Sorry. Put that down. Okay. Lower ribs on the side. Breathe in quietly, deeply. And out, you should feel some movement. And as I tell kids, find your ribs up here like chicken wings. And then breathe in. And out. Should feel some air moving. And then on your back, find your lower back ribs here. Down around the 10, 11, 12. Breathe in quietly. And out. Should feel some movement. And lastly, up here around your shoulder blades. Bend over a little if you need to. Breathe in again. And out. Okay? And that's 5. Where's the 6th one? Well, the 6th one I don't talk a lot about as a teacher because it happens so naturally. But it's right here. Upper middle. Our lungs are right there. When we breathe in to expand, some of that moves. Even though we're not trying to think about it moving a lot. But it happens so freely, I don't really try to point it out too heavy because I'm trying to get everybody to breathe in the other places, expand the other places. Good. Continuing. Here we go. Low larynx is ideal. So we're going to do a little exercise here again. Everybody put your hand right here. For the guys, it's easy. You have an Adam's apple. And ladies do too, it's just a little harder to find. But find a little cartilage right here. That's your thyroid cartilage. Right behind that is your vocal cords. Okay, now when you take a deep breath in, feel what happens to the area. Take a deep breath. And if you're normal, I guess it's normal, it goes down. Okay, and then when you talk or sing, if you're not a professional, it probably goes up. And when I'm playing brass instruments, sometimes it goes up too. Vocalists try to allow the larynx to stay low while they're singing. That creates the resonance and the sound that we need. Okay, so here's another way you can feel that. Everybody repeat after me. My throat is closed. Very good. Now do this. My throat is open.
My throat is open.
Hopefully you felt something change inside your neck area. And that's another way of just seeing the difference a little bit. I have a story about that later. Okay, good. Tongue shape and movement. Different here for the vocalist. The tongue reposes with the tip and sides in contact with the lower teeth. The brass folks don't talk a whole lot about the tongue just being in a certain place like that and then being out of the way. But the vocalists have a specific place it needs to go in that way. The front and the back shape the vowels, of course, and then they shape the formants, which are resonance frequencies. In each one of us, we have a certain frequency and resonance that is more prominent than others. When we're singing, one note will jump out and another one won't. And that's called the formant, as I understand it. And the front and back of the tongue help shape that, too. Okay, jaw placement, lowered and back for vocalists, and drops for high notes. Contrary to the brass, when we're playing up high, we don't try to go like that. We're like trying to close it up a little bit and get the airstream to go faster. Cool. And finish up. Here's all the discussion about the folds. They close, open, thicken, and thin, the changing ranges, so do the lips. And they're kind of positioned between a whisper and a heart attack for the sound to start. Kind of in the middle. We kind of do that with our lips too. When we start to play, we're not going like that, or we're not too loose like that, but kind of in between a lot of times, right? Here's what's interesting though. We'll see in a little while. Glottal resistance equals lip resistance and shape. Whatever your lips are doing up here, there's a good chance, especially if you're not a trained professional, that your vocal cords are also mimicking the same shape your lips are doing. That was a real eye-opener to me. I thought when I played slurred tuba notes that my glottis and my vocal folds were just open and air was flowing through them. And then I find out, no, they were mimicking exactly what my lips were doing, which made me tired looking at it, to be honest with you. So we'll see more of that later. Timbre. Look at all these adjectives the vocal pedagogies have. Wowie. I mean, that's a lot. I'm not even going to read them all. And, but it's cool. If you apply a lot of these things to how we sound in the brass playing, then we have a little bit more of a vocabulary to speak of. In the vocal pedagogy, chiaroscuro is the term that's a desirable balance of light and dark. The more partials, the more enriching. That is the equivalent of world-class sound for the brass. So when we say world-class sound, to be honest with you, I believe this is what we're talking about. And anybody who hears the sound is like, wow, that's great, and everybody, that's great. It has a balance of darkness and lightness to it. And we'll see that later in some spectrographs too. Singers can't hear themselves. That's pretty much acknowledged throughout the vocal world, that, you know, we're having the sound travels through the bone slower and it's hard to hear yourself. In the brass world, we talk all the time about listen to yourself. Listen to your sound. Go listen to professional now, listen to your sound. Cool. Can we really hear what we sound like? You know? So we do use that for training and it does help. I'm not denying it helps. But when we think about it, sometimes it's better to get, you know, a third objective party too. All right, moving on. Here's the research steps for the actual project. And we had 2 female, 12 and 17, 2 male, 17 and 20. I knew these people already, and that's why I picked them to help me out, because I figured it would go faster if we all knew each other, and it did. And it got approved too, a little faster, I think. So we set up laryngoscope visits to measure the glottal open activity, pharynx openness,